Hi there, I'm Destiny from Nifty Knittings, and today I'm going to show you how to knit the Bobble Knit Throw pattern. It's a really fun, super bulky knitted throw with a simple seed stitch border that is worked as you go, and it features really chunky baubles in a fun diamond pattern. Thank you to Yarnspirations for sponsoring this tutorial. You can find all the materials you need for this project at yarnspirations.com. We'll be using Bernat Softy Chunky Big Ball, which has 431 yards per skein, and US 11 40-inch circular needles for this project. We'll be starting with the long tail cast on. I like to wrap my yarn around my needle about 10 times to see how long of a tail I need. And this is roughly how long of a tail I will need for 10 stitches. When I hold it double, that's about how long I'll need for 20 stitches. Now for the pattern, we'll be casting on 91 stitches. I am just going to be casting on 21 stitches to make a swatch to demonstrate the techniques we'll use. So again, we'll use the long tail cast on. Be sure to cast on loosely. Okay, I have all my stitches cast on, and we're going to start with a seed stitch border. So the first stitch of every row we are going to slip knitwise just to make a nice clean edge. So we're going to slip one knitwise with the yarn and back, purl one, knit one, purl one, and repeat knit one, purl one to the end of the row. We'll do this exact same thing for a total of 7 rows. My first row is done, and row 2 is going to be the exact same. We'll slip the first stitch knitwise and purl one, knit one, purl one. You can start to see the seed stitch pattern develop. So remember, do this for 7 rows total. So I finished my 7 rows, and I can tell I have 7 by counting the purl bumps. And now we'll be working from the chart. You can also follow the written directions available at niftyknittings.com. So first, the chart, it only shows the right side. I'll show you how we work the wrong sides when we come to them. We'll be reading it from right to left, every row. This first symbol means slip one knitwise. The dots mean purl. The blank squares mean just to knit. And when you get to a B, that is where we will add a bobble. Okay, so we're going to slip one knitwise, purl one, knit one, purl one, and knit one. So we are maintaining our seed stitch border for the first and last 5 stitches of every row. Following the chart, I'm going to now knit 5, and this is where we'll make our first bobble. We'll be turning 1 stitch into 3. First, we're going to knit through the front while leaving that stitch on the left needle, then knit through the back of the same stitch, and again leaving that stitch on the left needle and then back through the front again, and then sliding that stitch off the needle. So now we have 3 stitches where we had 1 before. Then we're just going to turn our work and purl these 3 stitches. Turn our work again and knit the same 3 stitches. Turn our work again, purl again, those 3 stitches. And turn one more time, and then we are going to knit these 3 stitches together. And then we have our bobble. And then we are just going to knit. We will knit 4 stitches and then continue repeating everything within the red bracket 8 times per row. Since I'm just making a small swatch, I'm just going to knit the 4 and then finish out the rest of the row. Two, 3, 4, and then I will work my 5 stitch seed stitch border. Knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Okay. Then I'm just going to turn my work around, and all of the wrong sides will be worked this way. We are going to slip the first stitch knitwise, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. So that's our 5 stitch border. And then we are just going to purl all the stitches until we have 5 stitches left. I have 5 stitches left. So I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and knit 1. And turn back around to the right side. We're going to be adding a bobble on either side of the bobble we created on the previous right side row. So every row will be adding 1 bobble adjacent to the bobble from the previous row. So again, work that 5 stitch seed stitch border. Now the bobbles on this row, I'm going to show you a little trick that with some practice makes things a little bit easier, so you don't have to turn your work when you're working with a huge heavy blanket. Okay, so my bobble is here from the last row, so it's going to be on this stitch now. And I'm going to increase the same as before, knit into the front and the back and the front. And then this is an optional version to make your bobble. Put your left needle back through the back of the stitch you just knitted, bring your yarn over top and pull that through the loop. Essentially just purling but backwards, so your right side is facing you. So yarn goes over the top and then through that loop. So the left needle is going to the back of the stitch and the yarn goes over the top and through. And then we will just knit these 3 and do the same thing again. So it just saves a little time, so you don't have to turn your work around for every single bobble because there are a lot of them. And when the blanket starts to get very heavy, it's a lot of work to turn it back and forth. And now we're just going to knit 3 together. I'll show you that again for the next bobble. I'm just going to knit 1 and make another bobble. So knit into the front, into the back, and back through the front. And then purl those 3 stitches. And knit those 3 stitches again. Purl. And then knit 3 together. And there we have it. So I'm just going to knit into my last 5 stitches. We'll repeat everything within the red bracket 8 times per row, but I'm just making a small sample. So I'm just knitting to the last 5 stitches and working my seed stitch border. Okay. So you can start to see the diamond pattern develop. We'll continue adding baubles just offset from the previous row's baubles, forming a diamond. And we'll repeat everything within the red bracket 8 times per row, and we'll repeat rows 8 through 26 for the entire length of the blanket. Once you've finished your blanket, we will end it with another 7 rows of seed stitch. So again, slip the first stitch knitwise, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and repeat this to the end of the row, and do the same thing for the next 6 rows. To bind off, we will just be binding off in pattern. So we're going to knit 1, purl 1, just like if we were working a seed stitch row, and then pass the first stitch over the second. Knit 1, pass the first stitch over, purl 1, and make sure not to do this too tightly. We want a nice loose edge. Pass that stitch over, and just keep repeating until all of your stitches are bound off. And that's all there is to it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Feel free to subscribe to my channel or visit niftyknittings.com for more patterns and tutorials.